So we're just going to look at some control from guard from a striking point of view. Okay, so we've kind of talked about having a hands on the belly to control posture and stuff. That's great, but Jay can obviously start punching me in the face. So it's not protecting my head in any way, shape or form. So we're going to look at a bicep and armpit control today to look to stand. Then off of that, we're going to start adding some leg attacks. So leg locks from a guard top position, which I don't think we've done yet. We did guard bottom, didn't we? The single X, X and all the other stuff. So we're going to kind of switch it up today and do it the other way. So obviously in this position I've got to be a little bit careful. We talked about not having our hands in a position where we can get arrested. Okay, so we're never doing that kind of thing. But unfortunately, to control the arms, we have to kind of go into that area, which means that our arms are now going into a position where we have to think there is a risk of getting armbarred. We take a bit of, we make a bit of a choice here where we either have control or we get punched. Okay, and if elbows are involved as well, it does get pretty painful pretty quickly. So we're going to start off with bicep control to begin with. Okay, so Jay tries to punch me now. It's obviously a lot harder. Okay, now from this position, all I'm going to do is just practice standing. If like Jay's very tall compared to me, I'm probably going to have to go straight to armpit control to straighten those arms out. Okay, so I'm going to build my base. So I'm going to start one leg at a time. So I'm going to lift up, making sure that those hands don't go down, and I've got that good control into this position, and then posture up. Then obviously from here, this is where we can start looking at striking, but we're just going to do this as a bit of a drill to begin with. Okay, so here, might throw some strikes, hands on the bicep if you're tall enough. If you're too short, hands into the armpits, build the frame, posture up. Yeah, a couple of strikes, so I'll just have his hands out. A couple of strikes, and then back down. So it ends up being a little bit of a cardio drill as well. Okay, so we're just going.
One side for one.
One person's going to do it for a minute, and then the other person's going to switch over.
And the armpit control is better than the bicep? Or
Depends on length. Like if Jay comes into my guard, because Jay's got significantly longer arms, he can control my arms really well from bicep control. He doesn't need to go armpit. Yeah, so for me, my limb length isn't long enough to actually start creating problems. Sometimes it can be a little easier for me to clear and start doing stuff, but like Jay's got really long arms compared to me, so his bicep control is way more effective than what mine is. Okay, it goes back to being a short ass. Okay, give it a go. 1, 2, 3. If we're going with kind of bicep control, we have to be really careful where we put our hands. We can't put our hands over here because there's no control. So he can start coming underneath and wrapping around and doing that. So the bicep control's here. Yeah, it's on my side, not the opposite side of the arm, because now it's going to be a lot harder for him to roll underneath and get that control. This is my favourite just because of my limb length and everything. So what I like, everyone's kind of getting that good posture, so everyone's looking up a little bit. Yeah, so we're then building that base into here. The couple of things that we need to be cautious of, as soon as I take my hands off, is his hands going to my ankles. Okay, so I'm always kind of watching that. So as I'm lifting up a little bit, I'm slowly bringing my hands to the belly, and as soon as I see that, yep, I might reset and go back in that position. If he grabs my ankles, okay, we can always try and strip and clear one, because it's a lot harder to do that old school kind of idiot sweep with just one hand, because I can always take the other leg back. So if I strip that hand, yeah, and he tries to do the same, I can use that foot to kind of base out a little bit. So just be conscious of that. So we've got up, yeah. Jay's keeping his hips up, which is really good for Jay, but he's having to hang on. So there's a lot of work happening on my hips. I'm obviously picking my shots as well. I've got to be careful. I can't just do this, because if his elbows come in and I start punching his elbows, that's when I'm going to have problems. So I'm always picking my shot, yeah, to make sure that I'm not punching an elbow. Okay, he's got his guard closed. I'm just going to come up. I'm just going to pop that guard. Okay, so I'm just going to put a little bit of pressure on with the elbow, and then as his hips drop, just step back a little bit. But you see, I'll load the leg again. Okay, I always want them hips loading up, because this is what's going to give me good control. If I take my hips back slightly, this is when Jay can start, you know, doing guard or doing something with his guard. So he can put his feet in my hips, doing all that, you might switch to like a De La Riva or something else. You know, we don't really see De La Riva in MMA much, but it's there. By getting used to doing that, he can't get his feet on my hips, and I can still keep control, and keep that posture, and be able to strike. All right, so we're just going to add that with breaking the guard. So we've used this to stand up, and I'll use this in jiu-jitsu as well, to stand up so I don't start punching them and stuff, because it's frowned upon in jiu-jitsu. So armpit control, standing, yeah, from this position here, yeah. I want the bottom person should feel like they're really having to hang on. There's more tension on where the cross is around the back. Okay, so once I've opened that guard and that leg's dropped, I'm going to take a slight step back. I know I said don't take a slight step back, but this time we're taking a slight step back because we want to do something different. We don't want to just sit here and ground and pound. So I'll take a slight step back so his hips hit the floor. That's key. Okay. Sometimes people will drop the hips anyway, even when you stack, because you know physically they can't keep that cross, or they just don't know what they're doing and they're dropping the hips when I'm in that stack position. Okay. So from here, we're just going to start off with a knee bar. All right. We're going to go nice and steady, because this is the one that everyone gets kneed in the nuts at least 3 times if we're not doing it with a little bit of control. Okay, so from here I'm going to take one leg, I'm going to pass it across my arm. Okay, this knee is going to go in the middle, and this is where the nut shot comes in. Okay, I'm going to turn, but I need to squat. Okay, so self-defense. That's another class. But that's why we're going to get a little bit of control on this one. Okay, so here I'm going to turn and I'm going to pinch my knees and squat down. Okay, and that's pretty much the entry. So I'll go to the other side. So I'll pass the leg across. So I might mask this with a strike. Yeah, and I'm bringing my knee on the inside and I'm squatting down into this position. I always fall over the other leg. Don't worry about getting the leg out and finishing it just yet, but this is the position I want you to end up in. You just go solid. So, open the guard, throw a couple of strikes, pass the leg across, and then hook it. This knee comes on the inside, and drop. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I pass that leg across into here, as soon as I've got into this position, I'm squeezing my knees, so I'm really squishing my knees. You know, everyone's squeeze is going to be slightly different at this point, but as long as you're actively kind of pushing your knees together, you're going to get good control. For the knee, what I'm looking to do is line my groin up, my nuts, with the knee. So you'll hear me shout nuts to knee. Okay, God knows, you know, what people think of it, but that's exactly what we're after. All right. So as I turn and I fall, it's really important. I'll change the angle in a second. I don't start doing this and looking up towards the ceiling. Even if I'm staying tight, I don't want to do this. I want to stay on my side. Okay. Part of the reason why watch that second. Part of the reason why I want to do that is because once I'm here, yeah, I can create a bigger angle. I've got a lot more power. Yeah, if I start turning and facing the ceiling, I'm now fighting gravity a little bit, so I don't have the same sort of arch that we're after. So if I hug this in super tight, yeah, I can create a larger arch. And what we're doing with the knee bar is we're making the knee bend the wrong way. Well, that's the goal, is to make the knee bend the wrong way. So in, hug, heels to the bum, and then I'm arching my knee, okay, into this position. So start off as a shrimp, and then extend into a kneel. Not a kneel, I don't know. Something long, okay? But the foot for now on the bottom side of your head as well, not the top side, the bottom side. Yeah, so I'm keeping that heel nice and tight. So, yeah, pass across, in, through, and I'm staying on my side. Okay, so heel stays close to the head, hug nice and tight, pinch your knees. If you don't pinch your knees together, what typically happens is people extend the knee out. and this is where you lose that ability to arch as much. Yeah, nice and tight, and then extend through. Okay, if I lift this knee off, yeah, it really screws up the knee bar. Okay, so it's similar to an arm bar. And through. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's our finish. Kind of try and do it in that kind of fashion as well, where you're not rushing, you're taking your time, making sure you're not looking up and all that kind of good stuff. All right, give it a go. 1, 2, 3.